All right, recording has started, and this is the October 19th, 2023 Crossplane community meeting. I will go ahead as always, and into the Zoom chat here, I will drop a direct link to the agenda doc for this date. So everyone is welcome to pop in there, add yourself as an attendee if you want, and there's definitely room in the agenda today for topics that folks want to discuss. So do feel free to add anything you want to the agenda and we will get it merged in there. So the biggest topic on hand right now by far is the 1.14 release that is coming up. We are into the final 2 weeks of it. So just for a reminder for everybody, we have officially entered the feature freeze timeline right now. So we are, by this point, we should have landed all of our big features and big ticket items for the release. Within one more week, we want to get to the code freeze part. So during this week here, we will be doing polish, we'll be doing fit and finish, we'll be trying to get everything, all the big things that we've landed, making sure that we're getting all of them to our quality bar and that the release is going to be solid. And then a little bit more bake time after that for 1 week, which puts the release itself on the 1st of November. So we are currently we're past feature freeze and we're working towards code freeze right now. So let's bring up the board. I think that's probably the most useful thing to do today, and get a status on everything going on. Nick and I met yesterday and we were able to take a pass through the 1.14 board. So it should be up to date, at least as of yesterday, but there might be some more progress and stuff going on. So let's check in with everybody and see where we're at. One efficient way to do this, maybe Hassan, I see that you're on now, buddy. And I know that you've been kind of shepherding and merging and helping get some PRs merged and in for the feature freeze and stuff. So do you want to kind of help give us all here a bit of a sense of like what's left or things that may still need some attention for 1.14, man?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so basically, we get all the features that are expected to land in as of today. So in terms of feature freeze, I think we are on track. Maybe the only exception could be some CLI related stuff, but I think there was an alignment on that, like the CLI stuff we could be more flexible in terms of CLI because it's just a separate binary and it's not affecting the actual crossplane deployment. So I'm not like up to date with what is left there or like when we are planning to get everything in. But otherwise, I think for like feature wise, to the best of my knowledge, we get everything in. There are a couple of PRs which doesn't seem like feature, rather bug fixes, and we still have time for those.
Yep. So Hassan, that all makes perfect sense to me. I'll talk through some of the developer experience improvements and CLI features and stuff we're adding. So I'll address that stuff. So I think then maybe that leaves us with a couple questions here of what is left? The things that are left for getting some of these big ticket roadmap epic level items closed, like composition functions to beta and observe only resources to beta, etc. We said that the major feature work is landed, but so are we saying then too that there's maybe there's fit and finish, there's bug fixes and stuff that are keeping these issues still open?
Yes, that's true. And for GMP, granular management policies, like we have the latest status landed in provider AWS, but there is just one last touch in other providers, but it was planned to be released with the next set of releases of providers. So like in the core, we don't have anything for example, granular management policies. But as I said, like there are some ongoing work in provider side. So in terms of core crossplane, we could close that issue, but I think it's good to have it open until we have it landed to all of the official providers. For composition functions, as I said, to the best of my knowledge, we don't have any feature related issue. Maybe there could be some bug fixes, but looks like everything seems to be merged here as well.
Yeah, exactly. Checking the task list here. Documentation. It is certainly something that we'll all be spending time on within the next 2 weeks here before the release. And then the Go templates function as well, which also ships out of band. It's from its own repository and stuff, so it's not necessarily part of the 1.14 release process, but very much hoping to have that available for folks to start using as an option for their compositions in 1.14 when we release.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so lots and lots of good stuff. So let me talk about developer experience improvements right now too, while we're on the topic of roadmap items then. So developer experience stuff, we did a whole lot of groundwork to basically revive the Crossplane CLI and to start building more rich experiences into it. So within the 1.14 release, you'll see all sorts of package management functionality, initializing scaffolding projects, being able to render compositions in a local development iteration loop, which I think folks are very excited about having that one. All that stuff is in. It's merged into the main branch. That's ready to go. And then we do still have one outstanding experience or a command, high-level feature command that is for diagnosing, describing items. I know multiple folks on this call, I can see a couple names already, have explicitly either written documentation or blog posts around how to troubleshoot things in a control plane, right? And so this basically automates that and gives you a little graph of the resources and shows you exactly what's wrong with an unhealthy resource. So this feature is Philippe and Jonas have been working on that together, and that is not yet merged. But I think as Hassan previously kind of alluded to, this rich feature and experience is definitely something nice to get into, and it is at the top level of the code stack here. It does not affect any of the underlying runtime reconciliation or anything within the control plane itself. So in terms of risk management and risk aversion that you want to have for a feature freeze, this is fairly low on that, with the high value impact of the feature that comes in as well with minimal risk. So this is something that we are still planning to land and get that merged, I think, within the next day or so. And I don't think Philippe is here to contradict any of that or to add more details, but I believe that's the case. And then in developer experience stuff, we have so after feature freeze, we've got a number of bugs, fit and finish documentation stuff to do as well. And we are always more than happy to have folks add opinions on rough experiences or bugs and things that they still want to see fixed in the next 2 weeks. Then we can try to address as much as we can and make this a really solid release. And so I think everything else on the board here is related to developer experience stuff. So I think that wraps up literally everything on the board for 1.14, pretty much. Predrag, yes, you're on the call, sir. You had a couple things landing recently as well. Like pausing, compositions and stuff like that. That is all landed as well too. That's in main branch.
Yeah, that happened just a few hours ago.
Sweet, awesome, man. So there's nothing. Is there nothing left big or outstanding on your plate too then that hasn't merged?
Nope.
All right, good, fantastic, great work, man. Glad to see all that stuff, Predrag.
Thanks.
Cool. Okay, so obviously 1.14 is the big focus right now since we're getting so close to pushing out this release. What else is on people's minds for 1.14 specifically? Is there any other topics that folks wanted to have about the release, where we're at, what's left, all that sort of stuff?
I would like to make a kind of a nice announcement. Like, it's still early, but we are planning to provide some release candidates. Like the 1.14 release is huge, and there are a lot of improvements, features, and changes. So we thought that like maybe we can ask for some help from the community to test things out. So we are currently trying to, or discussing the best and optimal way to do that. And hopefully we can streamline the process for the upcoming releases as well. So basically, like it will be something like we will provide a release candidate after feature freeze or like just before the code freeze, and then like depending on the feedback, we will like fix the bugs, and then we will create another release candidate, and hopefully until the release day we can get some eyes and ask for help from the community for that.
Yeah, and Hassan, correct me if I'm wrong, but at least something that's very nice about our existing build infrastructure and stuff that we have set up is that, when we cut the 1.14 release branch, our CI, we immediately start getting builds out of that, right? Like RC builds start coming out of that immediately, right? I don't know if there's like a good, what do they go get published to a channel, or like what's an easy consumption pattern, but like we already have the CI and stuff set up to create RC builds from the 1.14 branch, right?
Yeah, we have the CI, but like for example, for master, we have a master channel for artifacts. For example, you can install from master channel the latest master build for Crossplane. But for release candidates, as far as I know, like maybe this may need some further investigation. There is no like out of the box way of like getting that artifact installed, like so like these are the details actually that we need to figure out before making an official announcement for this.
Oh, got it. Okay, so it's more about like the what release channel do they have for consumption of them?
Yeah, and what is the like experience would be for someone to install those release candidates.
Got it. Cool. Yep, that makes sense. Okay, awesome. And then in the chat, Christina was asking for more information about the pause feature, and I think I misspoke a little bit where it wasn't really focused on composition pausing, because that had already existed, but it was more for other entities within the Crossplane resource model, like providers, configurations, and functions. And then Predrag, you linked to your PR here that implemented it. So did that answer the question, Christina, that I introduced confusion on?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Nice. Excellent. Thanks, Predrag, for cleaning up for me there. All right.
I do have one more question, if
go
you
for
don't
it.
mind. So
Nope.
there's a deprecation note. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yep.
There's a deprecation notice for controller config, but there's no plan. How are we how are you going to replace that? What's the plan for that?
I can take that. So like the control config was deprecated, I think, since 1.11 with no like clear replacements. So it was just there with the deprecation notice indicating that we will not add further feature on that. But in this release, we got the design for a replacement, and recently the implementation for that landed on master. So with 1.14, we will have a replacement for that. Actually, the replacement API will be there, but control config will still live until we feel confident and get like clarification on the migration plan, and then we can remove that API. So right now, like with 1.14, there will be controller config plus the new beta implementation for the similar functionality. And in a future release, which we haven't yet agreed on or decided, we will drop the controller config API.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, oh, cool, sweet. So somebody already dropped the link to the
I
PR
edited
here.
it.
Awesome, Christopher. Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, and I appreciate the care and the concern towards the eventual migration to the runtime config replacement, because we and I was trying to find a comment that we explicitly stated this, that we are very aware that there's a large amount of adoption of controller config. So this is something that, even though it never made it out of alpha, there are, particular and specific considerations going into how to move it to its eventual replacement, because we know it's fairly widely spread adopted. Okay, and then so I want to check in with the chat again too from Blake. It looks like about developer experience stuff. Blake, do you want to bring that up on
Yeah,
synchronously here too? Cool.
Yeah. The only thing I was commenting about is I don't want to see us get to a place where like we do a 1.14 release. There's still some DevX things that are missing from the Crossplane CLI, diagnose being one of them, where we couldn't get that in like a minor version of just like a CLI release. I'm not sure I understand what the release cadence is going to be, if the CLI will always stay track with Crossplane main, or if the idea is that eventually CLI and Crossplane have different release cadences.
Yeah, really good question, Blake. And so with 1.14, the Crossplane CLI does live within the core Crossplane repo, as you noticed. It is going out as part of the 1.14 release. And then I very much, though, acknowledge and see a world in the not distant future where we're doing releases of the CLI separately from Crossplane, where it lives in its own repo, it's got its own release cadence, it moves faster than core Crossplane does and gets new things in, and new releases happening very frequently. We're not quite at that with the 1.14 release itself, but I see that as something coming up pretty soon, honestly.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good point, man. So let me write that down as well. Shipping with the 1.14, but it's likely not long.
Is there already open issues in Crossplane to look at maybe porting it to its own repo?
I feel like yes, Blake, but I also feel like that may be one of those things that got talked about and got inserted into my brain that way, but was not on paper yet. So if you happen to take a look, Blake, I'll try to look as well. If you don't see one, feel free to open an issue about that, so it's specifically tracked and we get that into the roadmap and everything too, dude.
Perfect.
Awesome. I think I just muted myself and kept talking. All right, so back up to the milestone stuff. So yeah, well, 1.14 I think is all we're going to talk about today in terms of milestones. And I think we've got everything covered here in the chat, everything that came up. So I think we could go ahead and move on to providers then. But everyone is more than welcome to interrupt for anything that they still want to get chatted about. So Jean, I'll hand it over to you here to talk a little bit about some of the early test images that are available for object-related providers that have major performance improvements.
Yeah, so if folks aren't aware yet, we're working on a new architecture for object-related providers that eliminates the Terraform CLI from the architecture and directly integrates with the Terraform provider. We are busy validating the changes on the provider AWS, the Upbound's official provider, and we've released the first round of alpha images for testing. We already got a bunch of feedback from that, and we're hoping to release a next batch tomorrow. So if you do plan on playing with those, wait for the next round of releases because they contain a bunch of bug fixes. And we're probably about 2 weeks or so away from finishing our validation work and being able to release them as GA. Definitely, they should be aligned with the Crossplane release, and will definitely be out before KubeCon. But they bring significant performance and utilization improvements, which will both result in much faster resource provisioning reconciliation, as well as reduction in cloud spend costs due to the reduced usage of CPU and memory and being able to run on smaller nodes. We're At the moment, we're working on quantifying a little bit what that cost saving could look like for folks. So keep your eyes peeled for some more announcements on this.
And Jean, correct me if I'm wrong, there is a SIG related to this as well too, right? The SIG.
That's yeah, there's a SIG for object provider performance.
I found it. Okay, yep. SIG. Cool. Fantastic. Yeah, so super excited about that. That architectural change and massive improvements for performance that we can see there. Yeah, and looking forward to any feedback folks have on that. And I think that the community of folks around these performance improvements, the SIG, et cetera, has historically been very eager and given great feedback, like our testing of early images and, you know, reporting their numbers and improvements they're seeing and stuff. So I'd love to see that and hope to see that continue as well. All right. In terms of recent provider releases, I just found it just searching the announcements channel. I didn't do a quick deep dive on this, so I might have missed some. There's a couple of recent releases for both provider AWS, the outbound one, and the community one as well. So people can check on those release notes and see the latest from there. And feel free for folks to add other provider releases and such that I missed into this doc here, and we'll get them merged in too. All right, so we'll move on down to the community topics section here. Some of these things we've already talked about live as we're going and adding them there. And I don't think we're super heavy on content here either. So we might get through this quickly. But as usual, we have a recent content section. And I think there's some really cool stuff in here. So Victor provided the link. It's the first one here now, the link to the webinar he did earlier this week that we were chatting about before we got started in the meeting today. So do give that a go. That's on my watch later list now, so I can catch up with it too. And there's also some couple pretty cool articles that content that we've seen from the AWS folks. Also, I particularly liked this blog post here about Sixt, the rental car company, or I guess they're a little bit bigger than that, but that's what I use them for at least. And some of their success on EKS. So great, that was a really great piece that the AWS team put together. And then Carlos had a talk as well too that we directly linked to from DevOps Stage 2023. So thanks for sharing that too, Carlos. And then I think there was something really cool about OpenShift, really cool article that I enjoyed about getting getting managed OpenShift services essentially running on cloud services and doing that with Crossplane. I thought that was super interesting. So I encourage folks to check that out as well. And also other really cool talks that folks have been doing and submitting here. So I think there's always really good content here and love to continue seeing it and reading every single one of them. So can continue providing all that. I mean, if there's anything I missed, we can add that in here as well. Folks I think this is slightly old news now, but I think it's within the last 2 weeks at least. But the awesome Control Plane Day community event that we hosted about a month ago or so. The full set of recordings of all the talks now are available here. So there's a blog post we wrote about it, but also a YouTube playlist that has every single one of those talks. So if you missed the Control Plane Day event or you wanted to catch up on some of the details of some of the talks there, because there were some very good talks for sure. They're all up on YouTube, and so everyone can check those out there. All right, KubeCon is coming up soon. I think that is less than 3 weeks, maybe more than 2, but less than 3 weeks, I think. So that is coming up really soon, and really looking forward to seeing all of you folks there that are able to travel. This link has been here for a while, and folks can refer to it to find all of the Crossplane related talks in one place and add those to your schedule. Let's see, is Marcus on the call today?
Yep, I'm here.
Yes, Marcus. Yeah, do you want to talk about your SIG observability you've taken steps to get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is about enabling platform creators to understand the performance of their platforms and to enable them to create service level objectives. So curious to hear about what the community thinks and wants, and also shaping up action items to get platform creators in a better spot to understand and to be able to communicate the performance of their platforms and the health.
Yeah, so Marcus, thank you for taking the initiative to get that SIG started. I think that there will be some good engagement there. There's a lot of folks that are interested in this topic. So the SIG is brand new. It's got a Slack channel now. You can get links to all the SIGs at this link here. Basically, there's a section of the README, the main Crossplane README, that has all the links to the SIGs, including the brand new SIG observability. So encourage folks to join it if you're interested in that topic. And then Marcus will be getting a community meeting going for that SIG, a recurring meeting every 2 weeks, just like the other SIGs have. So there will be synchronous sync points in that are available for folks that are interested in this topic to be contributing directly. And Christina, you added another note here for like a dashboard for Grafana. Do you want to talk about that for a quick second too?
Yes, of course. We we have been asked by a lot of customers to provide guidance on Crossplane observability, because as soon as you install it, you have to think about day 2 operations. So while I was doing a portion of the talk, I put a dashboard together and we uploaded it to Grafana Labs. It is relatively basic, just the following a README from Upbound pretty much, and just putting it in the dashboard. So if you have any feedback for that dashboard, please ping me, I can update it. If you see anything that's not working, you want to see improved, added, find me. And I would love to join the SIG observability and contribute there with anything I can.
Amazing, Christina. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. And then, having something available here for folks to easily get their hands on. I think that's definitely a great step. And then, definitely looking forward to your contributions to the SIG as well, too. Sweet. Okay. So we talked about controller config and runtime config. We talked about Crossplane CLI release cadence. So I think that was all of the documented agenda items that we had. So quick call to folks for anything we didn't cover that they want to bring up now. All right, cool. And I don't see anything else in the chat either, so I think that might be it then for today. So as a reminder, we're currently working towards code freeze on next Wednesday, and then the release the Wednesday after that. So it's definitely in a very important phase of the milestone lifecycle, where we want to be in close communication and making sure that we're getting everything reviewed and making sure that everything is converging down to a high quality release. So be on the lookout for Hassan following up on release candidate builds out for 1.14, so we get some early testing on that and get a little bit more coverage and making sure everything is looking high quality. But I'm really looking forward to getting out a awesome release here within the next couple weeks. All right, great to see everybody. Thanks for stopping by today, everybody. See ya.
Bye.